Welcome back to the Always Smiling Faces podcast. We are back, and we can't start it with that famous phrase because we didn't win, you know.
We drew, you know.
We drew, you know. We did. So tonight I am joined by Deka, who's just introduced himself there, and of course Besty is with us as well, looking very handsome in that light.
Rugged, I would have said as well. Like about time, I was concerned that me many facial kind of blemishes and imperfections would be to the fore, like, but it's hiding a multitude.
You look like a different man, Bestie. Honestly, like you've had a shave, your hair's cut and that. You just look like a different man from a few months ago.
The hair's still long. The shaving is taken about a week ago. That wasn't. It's just taking it still now to kind of me face to go back into it.
You're looking well.
It's definitely that new HD 4K light that you've got there as well. It's bringing out all the best in your features.
That doesn't take a great deal of doing. All the best isn't much.
No, well, it's looking good.
I'm going to use my phone next week.
Going to use your phone?
Well, if it looks like that.
Well,
doesn't it?
I don't know if you look that good, like, to be fair.
I suppose, yeah.
Give it a try. Give it a try. What's that you're supping on there, Deka?
You what, sorry? Just a gin and tonic, mate. The third one.
No,
just a gin.
It's going to be one of those nights, is it?
If I could go for another one, we could be in trouble. Like, it's running a bit short, this one. Like,
well, I guess we better dive into the reason that we're here tonight, and that is to try and pick some sense out of that display on the weekend. So, yesterday we played Tottenham Hotspur, and for those that seen it, it'll live long in the memory. But let's start at the beginning. Bestie, thoughts on the lineup?
Disappointing, to be honest with you. I thought it felt as if I don't know. It's hard to say. I was talking to Matty about this the other day, and like 5 at the back just isn't. You know what you're going to get when Newcastle under Steve Bruce line up with 5 at the back. It's not going to be particularly exciting. It's going to be attritional. The 45 minutes is going to last about a week and a half, and like made all the more kind of dispiriting by seeing Isaac Hayden at centre half, because I think he's a good player, but he's not a centre half. So the lineup was the kind of the first little cause for concern, I thought, when I saw that. And rightly so. It's surprisingly well. I was going to say starting with 2 up front. He didn't really, did he? Because Joelinton wasn't playing as a striker. But I was a little bit surprised to see him in the team after how much he struggled against Brighton.
Yeah, I think when we were looking pre-match when the team news came out, I think the team on paper, it gave you a little bit of flexibility to be able to play different formations, Decker. I mean, we were having a little chat beforehand around looking at trying to figure out how it could fit together.
Well, obviously, on the Sky News app or whatever it was, the Soccer Centre one, it said that it was 4-4-2. So I thought that would mean it would be Joelinton and Wilson up front, which I thought, okay, we'll see what happens there. I wasn't happy that it was 4-4-2 at all, because obviously I think we've discussed it to death, really, of last week's game, how much we were overrun in certain areas of the field. I don't believe Hendrick's a right winger, in my opinion, etc., etc., etc. But then when I actually seen the lineup on Sky before the game, I realised it was then 5 at the back. And I had a chat with someone earlier on in the day, actually, and I was saying, like, sometimes I'm a little bit in the mindset of it's horses for courses, like, and I'm a little bit like, sometimes if we have to go to the back 5, okay, it's going to be like the days under. How long we've been talking? Because I'm about to mention his name here. We've only been recording for about a minute and a half. But back to the days of Rafa, where you're trying to be hard to beat. You're trying to, that's what you're trying to stop the opposition. And sometimes 5 at the back isn't the end of the world, but it doesn't inspire us. It's not what I want it to be. But I still am very much horses for courses sometimes. And I think, if you go 5 at the back, you're trying to be resolute, hard to beat, try and get them on the break, at least try and, keep it at 0-0 or 1-0, which in fairness we did. But my God Almighty, we were lucky. We will come to that, of course. But yeah, it is what it is. But I agree with Bestie. Hayden at centre half didn't make any sense to me, if I'm honest.
Yeah. So I think the formation and the lineup was a little bit kind of maybe pushed on Bruce a little bit because we had injuries to Jamal Lewis, so we didn't have a fit left back there. St. Maximin was out injured as well. So that meant we definitely had to make some changes down that left-hand side. And not having another fit left back at the club at the moment probably then has to push you into that position of playing Matt Ritchie there, who he's not a left back, but we know he can play that left wing back position a bit more. And then the Joe one kind of, I guess it's a bit of a toss up between him and Fraser to play on the left. Again, I think it caught everybody a bit by surprise, Besty, that Fraser wasn't involved.
I think so as well. I can only assume that Bruce doesn't think he's quite ready yet, although he wasn't on the bench either, was he? So
only a grind.
Yeah. He's. I think, and it's something that I think Bruce was criticised for last season, was bringing players back when they weren't quite ready. I can't remember an instance, but I'm sure I remember having a conversation about it last year.
I was saying a couple of times was one, wasn't it?
Yeah. So if he's had a look at Fraser earlier in the season and thought, well, he's not quite fit yet, we'll not rush him back in, then I think he's doing the right thing as far as I'm concerned. Joelinton, as I said earlier, when I first saw the team, and like I was saying, I thought, well, is it 4-4-2 again? And thinking, well, Richie's played wing back, but not left, like as a straight left back. How's that going to work? And wondering what Joelinton and Wilson would be able to do together. Obviously, Joelinton, I think, well, we'll get onto his performance later on, no doubt. But it was again a bit of a surprise, and I don't really think the players have got. Another reason I wasn't I would say not enamoured by the five at the back. I'm not like, I wasn't sitting there kind of tossing furniture about and all that carry on, like. But you look at the bodies and the players that they brought in, you think, well, they've strengthened the centre of midfield, so you'd expect that's where they'd have the kind of, you've got Hendrick, Shelby, Hayden on the pitch. I think that, I mean, it doesn't kind of, there's not a Xavi there or an Iniesta or even a N'Golo Kante type of player, really. But you've got three Premier League quality players there that could cause some damage.
Yeah, you would expect that there's enough strength in that midfield to be able to do that. And the other one that came in for the game as well, that's been missing in the last couple of weeks was Almiron. He came back into the team and played kind of to the right hand side a little bit. In that little bit of a two behind Wilson. So good to see him back, Deka.
Oh, absolutely. For me, honestly, when I know you all know that I love Saint, right? But to a degree, for me, Miggy's the first on the sheet. Like, honestly, I just think he just brings so much energy to the team. And I think against Brighton, I think you could see we were missing that energy, that speed. Do you know what I mean? And for me, he has to play every single game. Like, I mean, as much as he can, of course, for fitness and stuff. You know what I mean? But for me, it was great to see him back. I'm not necessarily a fan of him on the right hand side, as we've discussed a lot of times. But just to have him on the pitch, I think is very important for him.
Yeah,
I don't think it didn't always go his way yesterday. I was really, really happy to see him back in the team. So I liked him an awful lot. I thought he was quite poor for the most part yesterday. He gave the ball away quite a lot. And
very cheaply as well.
Didn't seem to be able to get the ball to stick. A couple of times he's tried to control it. He's going for a throw in, and it just you have bad days sometimes. I think it was just one of those for him, really.
Yeah, I do agree actually with his performance. He did give the ball away needlessly, but I just mean in terms of. I always try when we discuss this lineup here, I always try and think about how I felt when I seen it rather than hindsight, because it's so easy, isn't it, to go, well, he was shit, why do we play him? I try my best to stay there, like at the first part. So I was obviously pleased he was on, but obviously his performance, of course, could have been better, which will come.
Yeah, he deserves to be in the first team, like.
Definitely. I was pleased that he was back in, and the two things that you mentioned there was the thing that we needed and probably needed to see a lot more from other players in the team, particularly in the midfield, was that pace and the energy, because it was just massively missing for me. I think that's where a lot of our problems kind of came from, in the middle of the park, not having those legs to be able to, as we've talked about in the past, being able to pressurize the players, give us something to work with on the break and stuff like that. And I know I've said it a million times, and I'll probably say it a million times more, but I just thought Shelby was just an absolute joke on Sunday, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, you know how much I've ranted and raved about Shelby, but you're seeing a player which I think for all, I still think he's an intelligent player when he's got the ball. I still believe that. I still believe he's one of the most intelligent we've got. You can see that, and I've said this before to you so many times, that I appreciate Hayden played centre-half today, but still, if we are picking our best centre midfield pair, and it's going to be them two, and it's the same two we had in the Championship 5 years ago. And Shelvey wasn't particularly busting the good or getting up and down the pitch very well 5 years ago. So he ain't going to be able to do it now. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to get any better. Does that make sense? And I think you're seeing it now in the game. This is what I would say about the Premier League as well. You know, I feel as if the game's getting quicker and quicker and quicker every year. Every year that goes by, the game gets faster. And every time I watch us play, whether being on the ball or without the ball, we're the slowest team in the world, mentally and physically. Well, I know we've got fast players. Saint's quick, Wilson's quick. I get that. I know that. But what I'm on about is, like, certainly in the midfield areas, we're just so lackluster and we're so passive. And to go back to the formation, we played 5 at the back, and I'm thinking, okay, right, well, we'll be hard to beat for the first 10 minutes. There should have been 5 up in the first 5 or 10 minutes. And that's not even, I'm not exaggerating there. They were coming through it as if we weren't even on the field. And we've got 5 at the back. We should be tight. Surely hard to beat in them areas. And they were just flooding through. And it was awful. It was awful, wasn't it, right? It was terrible.
It was desperate. Desperate.
Yeah. Sorry, I've just ranted a bit there. I apologise. I went from talking about Shelvey to criticising the back 5. But I just, you know what I mean? It's just, I cannot understand it.
You'll do anything to try and defend him, won't you?
No, absolutely
Deflecting
not.
the blame.
No, to go back to Shelvey, yes, absolutely. I mean, the guy is a snail pace on the ball, and without the ball, he's a man down. Really, isn't he? He's a man down. And when we get the ball, it's even when you've got a chance of a quick break, they give it to Shelvey, boom. The whole speed of the counter attack is gone because he just takes so long on the ball. It's just the whole thing's just too slow. Sorry, someone else.
No, it's right. And you're summing up the frustration that I had, kind of watching it was, and it's not the first time that we've said this, and it won't be the last, because unless we do something differently in the middle of the park to allow us to move the ball faster, to carry it a little bit, then we're going to have this conversation time and time again. What is the answer in the middle of the park, Besty?
I don't think the answer is at the club at the minute, to be honest with you. I think the answer is better footballers. As Deka says, that Hayden and Shelvey have been in the first team since the Championship. They weren't bought. Shelvey was bought in the window before they went down, so maybe slightly different there. But Hayden, I don't think, was bought expecting that he would be a Newcastle player in 20, or certainly in the first team with John Joe Shelvey in 2020-21. I have 5 years, teams that come up, I can't think of another one that's done that. That's kept the same midfield, the centre half that they had in the Championship towards the end of last season, the same centre forward that they had in the Championship as well. Matt Ritchie was there. It's just that the teams that good players, I think Hayden's in particular is worthy of keeping the squad. He's just got his new 6-year contract there, but I think the answer is that we just need better footballers. Shelvey's, as Deka said, he's never really been a kind of, certainly since he's been here, he's not been a box-to-box kind of all-action. Yaya Toure pick the ball from deep and drive forward with it. You pick the ball up, but then he'll generally put his foot through it, and every now and then it'll land on someone's toe, and it's brilliant. But then you get something that happened, or something like what happened for their goal yesterday, where he's trying to play a ball through Wilson, and he hasn't beaten his man, and they've broken. I mean, it's a bit harsh to blame him for the goal, but that's how it started. It was just kind of a pretty cheap loss of possession. But again, who else has he got to aim for? He's not the kind of player who's going to put his foot on the ball and kind of drop a shoulder, take a man on, then lay it off the side. There's only one way he can go there, and that's what he tried to do. And because of the lack of options up front, or the lack of kind of having one bloke isolated on his own, that's what happens.
Yeah, and we've seen that time and time again over the last, God, it feels like 4 or 5 seasons that we've talked about having our striker isolated. Do you think the fact that we're seeing that again with Wilson at the weekend is that people are having a bit more of a thought towards the the role that Joelinton had to put up with last season, and maybe have a bit more sympathy towards him, Deka?
Well, I do, but I don't think that that's the majority of you I'm seeing, because I'm trying to think. I had loads of things to say there when Besty was talking. I was like, because he was saying things that I was agreeing with, and I wanted to elaborate on. First of all, the striker situation. Yes, I said that when we signed Wilson. If you remember, I said it's all well good signing him, but if we don't change the way we play, it ain't going to make a bit of difference. And we've seen on that particular game, that's exactly what it's going to be like. And you could even say the Brighton game as well. He never had a kick then either. Because as a team, we don't set up well enough. We're not equipped enough to supply the striker with any options, you know. And I agree in what you're saying, that everyone's excited that we've signed him, but going back to your Joelinton comment, he's starved, right? Isolated completely. And it's really, really difficult. To answer the question you said before about how can we maybe change the middle of the park, I'm probably going to say something that's very controversial that people won't like, but I would... can you remember when everyone was kicking up a fuss last year when Miggy was playing too deep? And everyone was saying, he's so far away from Joelinton. I think we need Miggy to be playing that role, but maybe have somebody else supporting Wilson. I feel as if we need a body in that middle, certainly maybe ahead of a couple of midfielders, to simply carry the ball, because Hayden can't carry it and Shelby can't carry it. So we need someone that can physically pick up the ball and run forward with it. And the only player, you see, I think I texted you yesterday saying I would actually probably hear Matty in there, or even a not so confident at the minute Sean Longstaff over Shelby, just because you've got legs and you've got energy in there. I just feel we need energy. And that's why I'm saying Miggy, because he's the only player that I can honestly think of that can play in the central position and can run.
Is he not maybe a bit lightweight to be in the middle of the park?
If it's played the right way, I don't know. If it's played the right way, I'm not sure. But I'm not saying it's the answer, of course, long term. But I'm just thinking about, like, I'm a big fan of playing three in the middle. I've said this for a long time to you, and I appreciate we want to play 4-2-3-1. That's our dream thing. And Fraser saying Miggy, I get that. But I just feel that, like, again, you're left with Hayden and Shelby there, aren't you? That's your two centre midfield pairing, and it's just not enough. It's not good enough. I feel as if we won't be able to run the midfield in a game well enough if we play 4-2-3-1. And because of that, your Fraser and your Saint, or certainly Fraser, Saint won't bother, but Saint and Fraser are enough just coming so deep for the ball, because with two centre midfielders cannot cope with the pressure. They can't cope with keeping up with the game. And really, to be fair, the answer is what Besty said. Fucking buy new players. Buy some better centre midfielders, right? That's the problem, right? But it's to come on to the start of the game, because I know obviously we're talking about a lot here. I'd really want to credit Darlow here especially for the very first, what it felt like the first minute, if I'm being honest. Them got a free kick. Kane, obviously, the first save was a bit iffy, you could probably say, when you see it on replay, but that second save's unreal. That double save. And I need to get that in before we get lost with all the rest of it. But I thought that was amazing, personally.
No, it wouldn't have got lost. That was I think one of the highlights that we had in the game was Darlow's performance. We were chatting about it while we were watching the match. Besty had a little bit of an alternative opinion on that double save to me and you, Deka.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
It's a good double save. But I'm aware I'm getting a reputation as being someone that kind of just doesn't. That seems not like him for the sake of it. That's not the case. I thought he played very, very well yesterday. But that double save, if the second one goes in, then it's his fault. Because that first save, you've got to push it. I mean, this isn't just Darlow. We've criticised Rob Elliott for this in the past as well, and Crow at times where he make the save, but the ball goes straight back into trouble. Like, that's got to go away. But that said, I think I was spot on. That second save he does brilliantly. There's another save later in the game where he's diving, I think, to his left and gets two hands on it. I forget exactly. That's the best save of the match for me. I think that was brilliant. That was a really, really good save. I thought he played excellent. He was. Yeah, he was. I feel as if I'm kind of. I have to go for a shower afterwards, like. But no.
Yeah, but it's not bad humble pie, though, is it? It's not like, do you know what I mean? Like, you might not rate him long term, but you can still appreciate his performance in that one game, and I certainly could.
Absolutely.
You know?
I remember I've been thinking about this kind of the comparison. Remember Al Habsi that was keeper for, I think, Wigan and Bolton for a little while.
Bolton and Wigan,
yeah. He would have a game every 10 or so where he would look incredible, where he would look absolutely, and then the other 9 he'd be appalling. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that Darlow's appalling. Again, because you can look at old podcasts for that. But yesterday was a really good game. You've got to kind of say, credit where it's due.
If I'm being honest, if I look across the first 3 games, I've been quite impressed throughout the 3. I think West Ham, I thought he did well. The Brighton game, let's be fair, I mean, didn't really have a chance on anything from memory, from very quick off my head there. And yesterday, obviously, he was brilliant. He did a great save off Kane very, very shortly after that double save. There was a header.
Yeah, he did.
I actually think Kane scored.
Three saves that really stood out for me, like that he made.
Yeah.
Mine, I've been wondering this now. I don't know if this is just my kind of, if I do, it turns out, have a natural thing against him. But for the goal, should he be on the ground like that for the goal? I can see what he's done is he's trying to kind of position himself because he's expecting Son to get a touch, and he doesn't, and it runs through. And Richie should do better. He's trying to kind of open his body up, look at Morris, just nip it and score the goal. But it's just even now, I don't know if he should have done what he did, or if I think he should have done better with it because I've got some sort of latent subconscious dislike for the bloke. I don't know what it is.
I think he's probably trying to. I think he's preempting that either Kane's going to have a shot towards the near post, or somebody's going to get a touch, whether that be our defender, because there was 3 of them sliding in, and then Son in the middle who just missed it. And like you say, Richie at the back post, he probably didn't even think that was going to get across the face of the goal to him, so it probably caught him a bit unawares. Obviously, Richie's came in for a bit of stick because he does get himself kind of wrong-footed, and then Murat sticks it in at the back post. But I've got to say, what a fantastic ball across the box it was from Kane, though.
Kane is really good at that.
Yeah, I just don't think it's really been picked up on what a horrible ball that is to have to defend against. I think it's kind of gone unwarranted.
Well, I'm about to tell you why it's gone unwarranted. So, Darlow. Now, normally, I'm only trying to be honest here. Normally, when I watch a game, I normally something sticks out of it straight away. So if I see a goal go in, I normally go, God, I mean, that was awful. Like from a player. I must admit I haven't seen Darlow. Darlow hasn't even entered my mind, so I'd like to see it again, because honestly, truthfully, I've never even really took notice of Darlow. I have, however, watched Richie. Well, first of all, sorry, I'll come on to the first part. Hendrick, right? Hendrick is standing up against Kane. Now, I honestly think Kane's as fast as my dad. My dad's 62, and I think, honestly, I honestly mean that, right? Kane is so slow, right? And he does Hendrick. It's unbelievable how easy he does Hendrick. It's unbelievable how easy he does him. And yes, okay, the ball across canny, but Richie, no, it's canny. It's Ari. It's not a Trent Alexander ball.
If Saint had put that ball across the box, it would have been the best pass you've ever seen in your life.
Well, maybe, but in my opinion, we should have never, ever. Well, first of all, as Bessie said before, we shouldn't be losing the ball in the area where we lost it with Shelby, first of all, right? I always look at where we lose the ball, so that was shocking. Hendrick standing up Kane and somehow gets done by him. I just cannot believe it. But anyway, he gets done by him. Richie does really well. If you watch the replay, right, he does really well that he sees. Is it who was it? The player? Sorry, oh, sorry, Moura. Sorry, apologise. He sees him and realises, shit, I'm actually a few yards away from him. So he breaks his neck to get back into that position. But then somehow, when the ball's coming along the box, he thinks that player's disappeared. Because he's just looked at him and goes, he's actually physically looks at him in the face and goes, shit, I need to mark you. Runs forward, the ball comes across and goes, oh, it's Ari. Oh, he's there, shit.
It's literally seconds difference, isn't it?
Exactly. It's seconds difference. And it beggars belief to me how he didn't realise he's just ran back to mark him. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. But hey, is that not why Richie's not a left back, right? And I don't want to hang him out to dry. He's filling in. He's trying his best. All of them are trying their best. I'm not trying to slag anyone off here, but that's maybe why he's not a left back.
It's a funny one because it's as if he lets it run across his body, Is he trying to then put it out with his left foot rather than just swinging it clear with his right, or just?
You're totally right, Mark.
It's
if he's a right foot,
I'm assuming so, but when you look at how quickly it comes across, he kind of squares his body up, but it's going that quickly that he's never going to catch it anyway. Like like what Deka says seems bizarre, because he clocks Lucas Moura and goes right, and he gets goal side, he does everything right there, and then literally within, it must be 2-3 seconds, he seems to just forget he's there altogether.
That is exactly it. He thinks he's gone, and I literally couldn't believe it.
On match of the day last night, I think, I don't know whether they were trying to be a bit kind towards Richie, but they slowed it down, and it does take a little bit of a touch in the middle of the park, in the middle of the box, from maybe either Lascelles or Fernandez, just gets a little toe on it, which then they were saying, does that then take it at kind of confuse Richie a little bit, or whether he can get the ball or not? But I don't know. I think they were just being kind for him, but obviously
we're slagging Richie here. But you've just mentioned, Mark, there, that it did go past Fernandez, and both of them, probably, maybe in fairness, were shit scared to touch it in case it went in, because they were probably so worried that bloody hell, it's close to the goal. But it's went past 3 Newcastle shirts. All right, we'll say Darlow, so that's 4 Newcastle players.
That Hayden got megged. You know, the first man was Hayden, and Kane puts it through his legs.
I just across the pitch. A terrible goal.
So.
Just a terrible, terrible goal. But what had been riding will look well before that shite happened. So, you know what I mean?
So they had a few chances. I don't know, had they hit the bar by that point, or did that come in the second half where they hit the crossbar and post 2 or 3 times?
I think Son hit it after that goal. They hit it. It was a lovely effort as well. But again, I want to comment on the Lascelles here. Sorry. I'm getting here now. I can feel it's getting a bit hot. I can just feel it. So
winding them up.
Lascelles was tackling like my mum yesterday. I have to admit this. I meant to text you to say this, but I thought I'd wait till the night. And I hope that you remember.
Dad playing in the centre of half. Now we've got his mum playing alongside him as well.
Well, no, but my dad's Harry Kane. He's as fast as Harry Kane. I'm not joking. Anyway. Yes, the cells. So if you can remember the Son shot that hit the bar, I'd love you to go and watch the highlights of that again. Watch the cells going to challenge him. He's honestly, man, he's like I haven't even got the words to express, but he's like a little girl, man. He's like, and obviously Son just bends it, hits the bar. Then 2 minutes later, there's a 50-50 challenge on the edge of the box where Lascelles goes down injured or hurt, he stubs his toe. That's a horrendous tackle from your centre half on the edge of our box. He literally just, he's scared to tackle him. That's two in a row. And I'm like, how about Lascelles, mate? You're a big, strong strapman lad. Get stuck in. Sorry.
He's gone. He's gone. He's away.
Just frustrates us, Mark. I'm sorry. It just really frustrates us when I see that effort, man. You know what I mean? You're centre half, you're the captain. Get in on him, tackle him.
I think that word summed up kind of how we're all feeling going into half time after that performance, and obviously with Spurs leading 1-0, going in, and as you say, it could have been a hell of a lot more than that at that time. But we went in 1 down at half time. A lot of work needing to be done in the dressing room at half time by Bruce. Come out second half, Besty, any improvement?
Well, I was going to say a great deal of improvement. Maybe he's getting a little bit overexcited there, but it was certainly better. I mean, whether that improvement came about as a result of what Newcastle did, or because Tottenham just didn't seem to have that much cutting edge, which sounds bizarre to say with the players they've got. But the second half, if the first half was just all backs to the wall, the second half passed by for the most part without really anything happening, from what I remember. I watched it all, but I can't, apart from a Darlow save and the penalty thing and Richie getting injured, I can't really remember much of it.
Yeah, it was one of those games where it was just, it didn't hold the attention very well at all, did it? It was as we said at the start, it wasn't one that'll live long in the memory for the main reasons. But I think the one reason that it will live in the memory is when we went into the 95th minute, and I guess we probably might as well just jump ahead to that point, because as Besty, you've just said there, absolutely nothing of any real note happened in the second half, did it?
Can I have a
jump ahead, mind? We've got to do it with our arms down by our sides.
You're right. I do want to say here, and I got pretty slagged off by a lot of people for saying this yesterday. I thought Joelinton played really well. I thought he played well. Actually, really well, maybe, but he played well. I thought he played well. I thought he hardly lost the ball forward. Early on, he's winning all of his battles, headers. I noticed he was trying his best to at least turn with the ball and carry the ball, at least try. And the argument that's been thrown to us, and it's probably a fair one, is that we didn't have a shot on target in 90 minutes and he's an attacker. So surely, how could you say he's had a good game? But why I'm saying he's had a good game is I'm judging him against everybody else. I'm judging him against your Shelby's. Even Wilson, for example. I know he's isolated, but he didn't touch the ball, right? He didn't do anything. Joelinton definitely did more than Wilson. He definitely did more than Shelby, 100%. He did a lovely turn, I thought, towards, it was the corner, and he had two around him, and he turned and he tried to bend it. I'm not sure if he's going for goal or crossing it. I'm not sure, but it went out of play. But it was still a nice play, and I thought that was one of Joe's best games I've seen him personally. Yeah,
no, he did. He definitely played better than he has. And like you say, people just don't like to give him any sort of credit for the performances that he puts in. But I would certainly agree that it was one of his better performances. Yes, being a critic of him, you could say that, did he do anything? No, he didn't create any chances or anything like that. But like you said, he certainly kept the ball moving, kept the in possession and stuff like that, and tried to make something.
Would you say he played better than Almiron?
Yeah, he was the second best player on the pitch for us,
I
without
so
a doubt.
well.
Without a doubt, in my eyes.
So I agree with that. A few times he kind of picked the ball up deep in our half and came forward with it. He won a few free kicks. Obviously, the free kick that the goal eventually came from was. Well, I watched it. I was looking at it. I'm assuming we're going to say the same thing. Yeah, when he jumps into, who was he? I was going to say Lewis Holby, but he doesn't play for now, does he? I forget who it was now. But
I need to also say Luke Edwards. Now, have you seen Luke Edwards? What he said about that? I'm not sure if he's having a laugh here, but he believes that was a foul on Joelinton. He actually physically retweeted it and put a massive status of he's been doing it all game. He was looking at Joelinton. He had his elbow up. Literally was saying it was a foul, and he on purposely did what he did to Joelinton. And I'm thinking, well, hang on, Joe is jumped into him. That's the bottom line here. I
honestly think it's both. You do when you look at it, you see Joelinton does jump into him, but at the same time, the lad he has a look and kind of just deviates a little bit, blocks him off.
I'm going to be honest. If Joe, he's a big lad, right? If he was jumping towards me, I'd definitely look at him. I'm sure. If you jumped at me, I'd be like, "Fucking hell!" I'd look at you. I'd look at you you know what I mean? I don't think it was a foul, if I'm being honest. But hey, who gives a fuck?
Yeah,
I'm about to come on to something a lot worse.
I think
that's more of an infringement than what followed. I think.
Yeah, well, probably right.
Well, not by the letter of the law. Not by the letter of the law. No. But I think Besty, you are onto something there, because there was definitely a lot of niggle between the pair of them during the game, and there was definitely a movement and intention. But the way that Joe throws himself, the thing is,
he's 6 yards away from him, man, and then he jumps in. Come on, you imagine that was Lascelles or someone did that to us. If someone did that to us, you'd be like, "What the fuck?"
This is the best bit about the whole thing, though, is that's gone completely unnoticed because of what then happens after the fact. It's only been mentioned in passing, the fact that should it have been a free kick in the first place, but I just loved watching that bit of the replay of I don't know, taking he was like a salmon going up a river, throwing himself thrown at it. Maybe he was just trying to keep his hands by his side, but
yes, from miles away as well. He does. It's an easy 6 foot. It is,
isn't it? I know. I'm like, what you think? But hey, no, what was your thoughts when he brought Carroll on? Because obviously I know we're going to get to this 95th minute, but when Carroll come on, what were you thinking?
Oof.
Anyone? Yeah.
Smash.
Yeah, you just expect it's going to be tossed into the box for him to win headers and make a nuisance of himself. There was one point where Carroll was. I feel a bit sorry for Carroll at times because at one point he was foul on the edge of the box. Referee didn't give it, they played on. And the commentator I heard said, "Oh, well, Andy Carroll can't complain. He's been dishing out plenty himself." You think, wait, that doesn't make it not a foul.
Yeah, of course, exactly. Yeah.
Like you kind of kick him up behind and go like, "Oh, yeah, but he's given free kicks in the past, so that makes it all right." I think Andy Carroll, like, because he's Andy Carroll, gives up. I think free kicks get given against him because he's Andy Carroll. Not because of anything he's done in particular. I mean, he does. I'm not saying he never gives away fouls because he does. He's quite a big oaf at times. Like, but when he came on, you kind of think, well, that's how we're going to be playing now. That's the rest of this game is going to be the long ball towards the back post.
Yeah. And it's just a style. It's a style, and I really want to get away from him. But obviously, of course, I appreciate the goal led to that, or the incident for the goal led to having Carroll, because we probably wouldn't have done that if Carroll hadn't been on. But it's just, I don't know, it's just like, it's such an old style tactic, isn't it? It's just a little bit long, lads, get in the box, second balls. You know, it's just, I don't know, it's just like...
What does Andy Carroll have to do to get any criticism in his direction?
Well, I was wondering if someone was going to say this. I think it's a good comment, you know, in a way.
Well, you know what it is? I love him, but we're now over a season, isn't it?
I think Thornton's careless parking outside a pizzeria.
Yeah. No, it's a good comment, though, Mark. If he wasn't from around here, and he wasn't who he was, let's say that was Joselu, right? Just swap the whole thing, and that's Joselu. No one would like him. No one would want him. But we want him because Andy Carroll.
It's a strange situation to find myself in, because I like him because of who he is, what he's, you know, what he achieved in the time that he was at the club, and he does, you know, give the place a bit of a lift when he came on. But the games that he's played so far this season, I'm yet to see anything that warrants him getting a position in the team.
I don't know, man.
That's the first against West Ham.
Yeah, but again, it's horses for courses, isn't it? And I think that the problem that we have as a team is when he's on the field, we just go long. We just go long straight away. And what I will say, and maybe in Carroll's defence here, and I was about to say this before, you think of the quality of ball that he's having to deal with. It's not like you've got some real talented winger or Beckham or something, you know, or Trent, for example, for Liverpool, hoying one in for him. That's I mean, a real whipped cross that he can get his head on. We're just lumping it along. You know, just aimlessly hitting it. The poor lad hasn't really got a chance, really, if I'm being honest. So it's a bit shit for him, that. And even if he does win the header, there's no one round him because we didn't play that high up the field. So it's a bit of a thankful task, like in a sense. But it's just the overall tactic I'm against. Football is advanced. Football has moved on. I'll talk about Brighton again. Look at their philosophy. Look at how them play, man. The way that them pass and move and press and everything. And what we're doing, bring Carroll on for the last 20 minutes, lads. Get it up front. It's just Sunday League stuff, man. It's Sunday League stuff. We're a fucking Premier League team, man.
I've watched the foul on Joelinton about 30 times in the last 5 minutes. And the more I look at it, the less it's a foul.
It's not a foul, man.
Well,
but we'll take it, though. So move on, Mark. 95th minute.
Thankfully, the referee did see it as a foul somehow and awarded the free kick, and it gets lofted up into the box to the far side of the box, and there's Big Andy leaping like a salmon. It's a second salmon reference that we've had in the last 5 minutes, and gets up behind Dyer, who is, by the way, heads the ball down. And the ball strikes Dyer's arms. There's lots of appeals from Carroll and a couple of our players. And then the game goes on from there. It then goes to VAR. What are your thoughts when it goes to VAR? Because we're all watching this at the live at the same time, watching this happening.
Well,
Besty, Deka, what?
I was... after having watched the Palace game on, I think, Saturday, whenever that was, Saturday tea time, the penalty that was given against Joel Ward was like, in the laws of the game, it's a penalty right there. I mean, that's just how it is at the minute. But if you look at it, and there's nothing he can do to get his hand out of the way, and the referee still gives it. And I had that in mind when I went to VAR. I thought, like, he's going to give this. He's got to give it for, you know. consistency's kind of never been the strong point of Premier League refereeing, but that is a penalty. The way it is now, and it's disgraceful. It's an awful law, like, because you're just going to get people twatting the ball off people's arms just trying to get penalties in the area. But it's under the way the football is now, it's a penalty. But as soon as I saw the VAR, I thought back to that, and the Man U. Was it Man U got the funny one?
Yeah, Man U.
Last second.
Everton as well. So I think that was the directives came in that Everton, Man United. We've seen Brighton maybe have one as well over the weekend as well. So there was, a lot of them, and
the Brighton one. I felt as if the lad leaned forward. Does that make sense a little bit? Maybe with the Brighton one. And I'm only being honest here. And every time I watch football, whether the letter, the law, or whatever, I only judge what I see. And when I seen the Dyer one, I was like, well, that's not a pen. Honest to God, I was straight away, well, that's not a penalty. And then
it shouldn't be. It definitely.
When I seen VAR come up with the lines on the screen, I then straight away realised, Jesus, it's a penalty. If he's onside, they'd give a penalty, because why would they be looking at offside? Obviously, do you know what I mean? Then when the referee, now this is my question, is obviously them in the studio, wherever them are, have said that's a penalty, but we need to check he's onside first. They've checked he's onside. They've then said to the ref, it's your chance to go and have a look, which I found strange at that point, personally.
Well, again, that's one of the directives that's been brought in this season, is they can give them a recommendation that he goes and looks at it. So rather than what we've seen last season with the VAR referees being off-site saying this is what you should do, they're saying there's been an incident, you should go and look at it. So that they're now giving the power back to the referee on the field, which last season we didn't really see. So I think for me that's a good step forward, because you're still making the decision from the referee who's there at the game, albeit with the ability to have a look at the replay. So I think that's the way VAR should work in my eyes. I'm in complete agreement is that's never a penalty, any day of the week in normal circumstances. But from this season, it will be, and we've already saw just in the space of a short couple of weeks how many penalties are being given for these decisions, and we're going to have to get used to it. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of stats today on Sky Sports News, looking at, because it's obviously been a big talking point, is looking at the number of penalties that were given in the Premier League versus La Liga and Serie A and the likes where that have got those rules already. So I think it was we had 19 penalties in the Premier League, and in the equivalent they'd had 40 odd and 50 odd penalties in the other leagues in the same period. So because they'd adopted that rule last season, so we're going to have to get used to seeing these types of decisions being given. And
do you not think they'll change it now? Do you not think? I think they will. I do.
They can't. That is the directive that's came in that season. FIFA, UEFA have all gave them and said that is the rule. The rest of Europe are adhering to those rules. You need to step in line and use them as well. Unfortunately,
the game's ruined there. Like the game's ruined because that. I mean, funny enough, Roy Keane the night said he thought it was a penalty. So they asked for it because he's on Monday Night Football, and he said, "Oh, I think the Dyer one was a penalty." And I was like, "Bloody hell!" I mean, I'm only trying to think if Roy Keane got that against him, Jesus, he would have knocked the ref out. But that's just not a penalty. It's just not. But if that's the rule, that's the rule. Now the problem is, I understand it's worked for Wood today, but we all know it's going to come back and bite me, right? It's going to hit Fernandez's hand on the cells or something.
That's why I've got absolutely zero qualms about taking that penalty and Wilson. And what I will say is him stepping up, cool as a cucumber, and what a finish to put that penalty away under a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure.
I'll take that out any day of the week, because as you've just said, Deka, we will 100% that'll come back around and wheel, because we get penalties like that given against us now, let alone with when there should be, these rules should be in. How many times have we seen ridiculous things like where we get penalties given against, or we are on the opposite end of it, of stupid things that don't get given. The one that springs to mind straight away is Wolves, when he's on top of our player, pushing him down with the header. That still sticks in my mind. How on earth they got that. You know, those types of decisions and stuff like that. It's just so. I've got no qualms.
We had a run in with the Wolves for a while, didn't we? Remember when the lad? I'm sure he scored a goal and then he elbowed Perez in the nose, like full on.
Same one, yeah.
Willie Bolly, he elbowed Perez at
right.
St James's, and then he was all over Darlow, not Darlow.
Dubravka,
the Molyneux, yeah.
Yeah, mental. But I get what you're saying. I just, I just try and look at it, in the way that I think it should be, and I personally don't think that's a penalty. And I felt a little bit dirty when I celebrated when they scored. I still did, but I felt a bit dirty. But I just think what I have to say though here is that really papered over so many cracks. You come away with a point, right, which is a fabulous point. And what I'm also going to say here, we've got 4 points from 3 games. We're sitting 10th. If you look at it just from that standpoint, it's been a successful start of the season. But my heavens, it doesn't tell the story, does it? And my worry is these performances are not getting any better.
Even beyond that, we're 10th in the league. We've won 1, drawn 1, lost 1, which is middling stuff. We won a game 7-0 last week.
Yeah.
We're through the last 16 of the cup, and it's
possibly,
and as you say, that just isn't the whole story at all.
No, it's not. It's just worrying. It really worries us, the performances that I'm seeing. And the thing is now is I'm in a state of mind here where, and this is me being stupid, right? And I'll probably get slagged for this, but I said at the start of last season that Bruce didn't have any pre-season, didn't have any. A couple of days in China when he just turned up and stuff like that. And I thought, it's going to take him time to try and get his own players in and play his own style of football. He's been here now for over a season. And I'm not seeing anything better at all, actually, than the year before. And that's what doesn't give us any faith in, we'll be all right by next week because we'll sort it out on the training ground. We've had how many weeks now to try and sort it out? And I just feel that we'll run out eventually. That's what I'm worried about, personally.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans feeling the same way. It had the feel of many games that we experienced last season of being under the cosh, being second best, but somehow getting a result and taking a point. And as you've just said, love it. Take that point and run for the hills. It's absolute robbery, but it's a point at the end of the day. You've got to be pleased with that, but I just see some very, very odd behaviour from people out there that don't like the fact that we got that point in the Newcastle supporters. Well, allegedly. I just don't understand that mentality.
Yeah, there's a bit of an issue, I think, at the minute where they'd rather see them lose, I think. I definitely think that's the case. They'd rather see them get beat because they can then vent big time.
Yeah.
But I think in regards to the what I was thinking, especially the first half, we almost treat Tottenham as if it was like Man City or something, man. I mean, Tottenham, don't get us wrong, Tottenham are a good side, but we were just so passive against them. That's what I couldn't believe. We were just letting them come out, sitting back so deep. And I'm thinking, Christ, it isn't Man City or prime Barcelona here. It's just Spurs. It's just Tottenham. They're a good side, but Christ, they're not amazing. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's just what annoys us a bit with that. We haven't progressed. Even with the new signings, I'm not seeing a new style or a new philosophy or a new sort of style of play. And we're not seeing that at the minute. And that's what's annoying us.
I think it's even more frustrating after the fact that we'd seen a decent performance in midweek with scoring our highest away number of goals in quite some time, our biggest away league victory as well. You would have just hoped, albeit with different players, that mentality and performance would have then carried on into the weekend. But it wasn't to be.
Did you watch that game? Sorry, the Morton game. Did you watch that?
Yes.
Yeah. The second half, of course.
I appreciate that they're a poor side, but that first half we were just immense. I've never seen we pass the ball around like that and press so high. And I understand they're a poor side. God almighty, I'm not daft. But it was just so refreshing to see we're on the front foot in that manner. And then you come on to Sunday and we defend, we park the bus, park with life. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, just not for me.
And that's why I was maybe expecting a bit more of a change to the team than that we actually saw against Spurs in both personnel and performance, and neither of them came to fruition. But we will have another chance, because we've got, as things turn to be this way this season, is we've got another cup game coming up in a couple of days. So we'll be back with a preview of that in the coming days. But I think we'll leave that Spurs draw there and consign that one to the bin, because it is a one that we don't want to have to think about too much ever again. Yeah. But Deka, Besty, thank you very much for joining us for tonight, and we'll catch you later. Cheers.
In a bit.